Is this the one where we're not supposed to start yet, Maddie?
I think we're live.
Oh, we're really live? Okay, I thought there was some like fake live. I thought we were going to be kind of live, but not really live. So we're really live, so we'll get started. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Squanch. This is Wisecrack's Rick and Morty podcast. I'm Michael Burns, joined as always by the Squanchers. We got Ryan Haley, as always.
Wubba what's going on, internet land? Hello.
Yeah. And today's super special guest, Reilly Anspaugh. Reilly, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. I mean, super special guest. I feel so welcome. Hello.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Wow, we're being really nice. I love it. So today,
all downhill from here.
Oh, for sure. It's going to get just cranky and mean within 10 minutes. So today we're here to talk about season 5, episode 6, which is called Rick and Morty's Thanksploitation Spectacular. But first, before we get into it, Reilly, a question I want to ask you that we like to ask everyone who comes on. What is like your relationship with the show Rick and Morty like? Are you a regular viewer of the show? Sometimes, not really, just this once?
I'm so glad you asked, dear Michael. I, up until nigh on a week ago, had never seen but a frame of Rick and Morty, the Adult Swim cartoon show.
Wow.
And I was like so excited to be asked by wonderful Matt Keebler to come on. But I was like, I was excited, but I was also like terrified. And I think it's just because like with anything, you have the small percentage of people who are kind of like shitty about being a fan of something. And so I think I just heard more about like that sect of Rick and Morty fans that like as a woman, and then especially as a woman in comedy, like scared the shit out of me. And so part of me was like, well, I'm never going to watch that. But I'd always been interested in it, and then I've watched everything in season 5 so far, and I love it, and it's so much fun. And I'm like, holy shit, why didn't I get into this sooner? It's such a ball, and so I am a fan now, and I love what I've seen so far. But yeah, so that is my deep relationship with this show.
That's
awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. Is this the first we've had someone that this is their entry point is that they started less than a week ago. That's right.
Yeah.
Fresh blood.
When I was asked, I was like totally down. Is it okay that I've never seen any?
I think it's awesome. I think this would be a very interesting episode.
Maybe
of this
even
podcast.
better. Not as much baggage, you know?
Not as much baggage, right? But I really love it. I'm excited to go back from the beginning and watch, because I'm really it's such a good time.
Yeah, it's a treat too. The early seasons are like season 1 and 2 are just great. So I'm glad you get to go back and watch those. And before we really dive in as well, Reilly, just so we give you a proper intro. So you're basically a do-it-all person, a writer, actor, comedian, podcast host, theater actor, one of the hosts of Headgum's Review. That mixes
thank you.
Two things. I mean, there's nothing I love more than improvisation and reviews of weird or specific things.
You go.
Bringing those together. But yeah, and that the best place if people are gonna want to, assuming they love this podcast, they love having you on, they want to immediately hear more of you. I imagine is review the best place to go first.
Yes, that is absolutely the best place to go. Review. REVIEW. And yeah, on the Headgum podcast, I co-host it with Jeffrey James, and that's exactly what we do. We find reviews of weird shit, and we do long-form duoprov based off of it. So if you want to find us, that's where to go.
So much fun. But now, no more fun and games. It's time to get serious, kids.
Okay.
I'm going to start, Ryan, with this question. This episode, the Thanksploitation Spectacular, initial thoughts and then grade. Ryan, I'll start with you. Your initial thoughts on the episode, and what grade are you giving it?
Initial thoughts, I'm going to go grade first, and I'm going to give it a solid B-. Wasn't my favorite. Wasn't the worst one. Was better than middle of the road. I think that the solid laughs, and I really like the plot. And I also really like the animation. This is probably my favorite. My favorite animation in the whole season was the turkeys the people, human beings turning into turkeys. I'm like, that looks awesome. Yeah. So all those things combined, and I always love when the president shows up. He's one of my favorite characters. He had a lot of good there's a lot of random niche political humor in this. But like what FDR, the fireside chat reference, like where the fuck did that come from? Deep cut. And anyway, I thought, and also I really love just the idea of the turkey pardon, which is such a bizarre tradition that we have here in this country. And I'm glad that they took advantage of how weird that was and made a whole episode about it, because it deserves it. So I like this episode. Not my favorite, but I liked it.
Awesome. Reilly, how about you? Thoughts on the episode, and then give us a letter grade.
And again, this is just from my knowledge of like my view of this only being from season 5, episode 1 till now. But I that's like pretty the same assessment. I mean, it's not my favorite of this season that I've seen, but my God, the how's this for a fireside chat joke really got me. And like, how do you like this new deal? Or it's time for a new deal. The FDR humor, really appreciated it. Yeah, it was fascinating. I think like the other episodes, yeah, well, I think for me, what was like the deeper themes were more apparent in this episode. I mean, just like so much nationalism, Americana military commentary that I'm like so excited to get into, and that was fascinating. And I had the same exact thought of like the animation of them turning into the turkeys was fucking dope. That was so cool. I loved that. But yeah, I would give it a B. I would give it a B.
Okay, slightly higher than me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
For the FDR jokes.
Yeah. I'd like just to pile on the FDR thing as well. I love when he explains that he's like that because in trying out the polio vaccine, they thought what has the most legs, and that Aspire had the most legs. I wasn't even like this because I watched this episode twice, and the second time through I laughed harder because I was like, "That's so dumb and funny." But I think I'm also in the B- category. Liked it a lot. Not a bad episode. Liked it better than last week for sure. A lot of good things to unpack. I loved the turn into a turkey country song quite a bit that plays in the montage where the soldiers, when they all leave their pregnant wives and their local bars. And I was like, this is like a good song. I kind of enjoyed it. But pretty good overall. And I definitely like, it threw a lot at the wall in terms of questions about like national identity and the way we think about ritual and military and holidays and the origins of the country and all this sort of stuff. And I think it even ended with a really fun Morty question that's pretty quickly disregarded by the president. I don't know if it like had as clear of a thematic as some episodes do. I don't think it poses like one particular question or idea. It moves around a lot, but it does touch on a lot of interesting things. So I think that's why definitely in the B's for me. Yeah. Nice. Now, before we break down some of those ideas, and I think there is a lot we can get into, good and bad in this episode, we're going to do a quick summary for everyone, okay? So here is our recap for, once again, Season 5, Episode 6, Rick and Morty's Thanksploitation Spectacular. So Rick and Morty start off doing a national treasure. But when Morty accidentally burns a hole through the Constitution, the Lincoln Memorial, the Liberty Bell, and the Statue of Liberty, which reveals an assassin underneath, the president gets very upset. To avoid presidential punishment, Rick does what he always does, which is turn into a turkey on Thanksgiving to trick the president into offering him a pardon. But the president, having fallen for this one before, has already prepared a group of elite soldiers that can be transformed into turkey soldiers to neutralize Rick and Morty. The president turkeys down to handle it himself eventually, but when he spits up the magic pill that confirms his identity, which multiple times they tell us this will matter later, the government scientist accidentally infuses an actual turkey with the president's DNA, creating a hybrid turkey man president who uses the power of office to create an army of turkey super soldiers. Meanwhile, Rick and Morty Morty and the president, all still turkeys, get sent down to the feeding chamber to be devoured by a massive FDR spider, and then a naked rehumaned Morty burns him to death. Turkey president then sells New York to France, winning over the Congress by giving them money to stop the turkeys from taking over. The president and Rick and Morty gather some well-trained hillbillies together to go to the crypt of the New World, where we now learn that America was originally ruled by turkey dinosaurs and two alien races, one pilgrim adjacent and one native people adjacent, united over their hatred of turkeys to save the day. They then reactivate them. They go on a killing spree. They take out the turkeys. Rick and Morty fly into space to take out a humanizer ray attached to the Washington Monument. Morty screws up and ruins the monument. They get back in time to save the president. And at the very end, Morty learns that America might not be as special as he once thought. Okay, that's our episode. Now we get it. Reilly, is there anything you wanted to start with talking about? Something that stood out to you in the episode, whether it be a particular scene or a theme or a question that came up? The floor is yours to get us started.
Yeah. My God. I mean, yeah, I think the thing that stood out to me most was the question Morty posed at the end of like, you know, that he thought America was like this special thing and that we made everything and that's why we controlled everything. And how quick that was like, yep. And then that and Summer, you're talking about Thanksgiving and her comment about like, well, we associate Thanksgiving with genocide. That's just what young people do. Those two moments really stood out. Yeah, it was really like I totally see what you were saying, Michael, about it. Like it brought up like a handful of big themes and big questions, and I think I wish it would have chosen one or two and really dug into that, because I think there were like so many that, I mean, and they do all work together, but I think there were so many of them that I wish we could have like spent more time in some. But I do think they all like lent itself to like, I guess what would be like Morty's thesis at the end of all of this. What did really get me is the pregnant woman in the bar. And there was one line, it was just like a tiny little thing of just throwing it away of like that little race car driver you got cooking in there. And that really, really got me. Like that trope, I think, was just so, well done. And then that tying into when like all like the cornfields are on fire and then you see these soldiers being like, whose side are we on? And then them deciding to run away and being like, well, we've done enough to pay for college. Like it just, there were all these little moments that like, I think tied in together really well. I know that was very scattered. They were just,
that's good though. The first two things you brought up, I think, work together really well, because there's that moment of Morty at the end we talked about where he says, you know, I thought we invented everything and did everything, and that's why we own everything. And there's sort of this naivety. And I think that's like a real thing. I'm sure not just Americans, but many people, when you grow up in a country, you hit this point in your childhood where you're like, wait, like are we the best ones still? Are we not? Is there like bad stuff? And it's weird to deal with. And then I think you have the moment with Summer where, you know, she says, oh, associating Thanksgiving with genocide is like what young people do. And that's like the edgier later in life, you know, you come home from college and now you're ready to be like actually dad and make Thanksgiving weird. So I did like how that gets at two moments that are very real in the life of any like thoughtful young person.
And like what's interesting is like it, in the grand scheme of things, those moments in life aren't very far apart. Like from when you get to one point to another, and it's such a huge jump, which is fascinating. Like the amount of kind of like learning and actualization that and like and deconditioning that you like do in that time is so drastic. Which like I thought that mirrored against each other was fascinating.
Yeah, I thought that in terms of them cramming all the themes and stuff, I thought it was pretty muddled, honestly. Like in terms of like I struggled to really pin down exactly what the writer of the show is saying, and I think that maybe that is kind of like it was like every single one of the themes was used as just a one joke note, you know. It's just like Summer just saying that one line. It's like it's like that's not really the whole, you know, we're not supposed to extrapolate more than that. It's just that's the joke, right? And I mean, take that one line for instance, the thing about like that's just what how kids, relate to genocide and Thanksgiving. I mean, is that a dig on kids today, or is that a dig on older people? Like,
Yeah.
to you, Mike, or whatever.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely it was like unclear because in a sense it's like it was a dig on adults, but then Summer says it in this way that's just like, well, that's just like what we say. So there's that sense that it's like a dig at saying stuff like that to seem maybe like edgy or intellectual in front of your family, when really you might not know like what the fuck you're talking about.
It's like the infographic trend version of understanding. Yeah.
I had fun watching it.
Yeah. No, but I think you're right. Like there was a lot going on. I do think if I, was forced to pick like a theme, and this is me projecting this onto the episode because I don't think this was clearly there, but there was a lot about like mythology and history, the way in which there's like our personal identities or national identities are tied to formative events, many of which we think of as history, but often are more like mythologies that allow us to exist a certain way. So I think when it's revealed that initially America was run by what was it, the turkey dinosaurs or whatever, it's interesting to have like a new foundational myth presented to explain all this. But at the same time, there was this like level of arbitrariness, right? Like right off the bat, the president goes to all this length, including having a bunch of Marines that he trains and turns them into turkeys, not for like real national security or to do anything big. It's so that Rick can't mess with him. So there's like an arbitrariness behind all of this stuff, which I think, made me think about how much stuff in our own, political history and military history, you look at it from a remove and you're like, well, this is pretty arbitrary. Like dudes doing stuff because dudes wanted to do stuff. So I thought that was kind of there as well. But I think I just said I was going to identify a theme, but then I did the thing where I just said 3 things. So.
Well, I mean, the theme is National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. I'm sorry, Reilly, I cut you off.
No. I mean, well, Ryan, you're absolutely correct. But right. I mean, like when the VP came in and was like, New York is being invaded by France, like that, that in itself could have been a whole like that. Compared to then the president being like, fuck that, I'm going to do this turkey thing so that Rick can't fuck with me anymore. Like that already is its own theme. Like that could have been like dug into so much. And in a way, when that was going on throughout the entire time. This is kind of the backdrop of the whole episode. But that is just like what's important. And then of course that also tying into like the mythology of like what is important to us. And like as Americans, like is the important thing like to like no fucking turkey's gonna fuck with me, or like what's in the best interest of the country, and then what does that even mean, et cetera, et cetera. Then it's like who is the country for? What is the best interest of who? And then I think there was like another, I'm totally messing up this line, but something about that it's like the countries just serve as like job placements for the people who invent them.
Yeah, he
right.
says their job placement program. Yeah, their job placement program for the politicians that invent them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which felt real, and that kind of ties into the part as well where Congress was approving everything. Yeah, where Congress would approve anything the turkey president said just because he kept paying them more.
It was just like they got three pay raises in the last 6 hours since the turkey president became president.
Fun fact: that was one of the last amendments to the Constitution. Right? Was that like the government can't raise their salary in the same term? Am I crazy? You guys know what I'm talking about?
I will believe anything you say, Ryan.
University of Texas student found out that there was like a little thing like, but this amendment got started 200 years ago. We never finished it. And then he finished it. And it was this whole thing. I know I have part of that story right. Fact check me, somebody.
That's amazing.
If that is real, that is incredible. I really hope that's what it is.
I think I'm partially right. Anyway.
What I did love, this is again, I mean, like changing gears because there's so many gears to change to in this episode, but I am so glad that part of the story was about the turkey pardoning, because what a weird like tradition, like talking about, tradition and mythology, like what a weird thing we do. What a strange thing that every year, like, we spend our time doing that. Like in this episode.
I love it.
I know it's just like mind blowing. Like,
it's also like sick and sadistic too for the other turkeys.
Sick.
It's like, which one are we gonna save? The others were killing you. You fucking, like.
If you're ever around, like, sometimes a little kid on Thanksgiving will have the moment of like being really into it, like, wow, the president pardoned him, and then the kid will be like, but what about all the other turkeys? And they're just like, they will die.
Parents like take off a sheet on the table and cook turkey.
Yeah. And how weird too that like we publicly pardon a thing that then we all are supposed to immediately eat. Sorry, my long headphone cord just touched my foot and I thought an animal touched me and I was about to scream.
It was turkey.
It wasn't turkey, but yeah, like it's another one of those weird arbitrary things that when you zoom out from it makes very little sense.
Yeah.
I love the wishbone moment in this thing when he pulls his own wishbone out and then he wishes to explode like a bomb. That was amazing.
Yeah, I wish to explode.
Another bizarre tradition we do with breaking a wishbone, and that whole thing is weird. We don't really talk about. Right. I don't know how it started.
Yeah. Well, I really feel like this episode, more than any other one we've talked about recently, is just like a collection of fun moments. Because even in the way we're talking about it, because we're all professionals, right? We all know how to get on a microphone and talk about a TV show. Like it's
I don't know about that.
High level, elite professionals, but
we do it. I don't know if we know how to do it.
No, the highest for sure.
Highest
and I don't think anyone can contest that.
Okay, good. All right, I'm glad we're on the same page. Yeah.
But it's so hard to even have a focused discussion of this episode because it just feels like this kaleidoscope of interesting things that are moving that we have to like point at and stop and say this one was cool and that one was fun and this one was interesting. But then when you try to look at a big picture, it's just all the shiny objects.
I think that the key to this movie is in the name of the fucking episode. The
National Treasure.
Yeah, it is a national. This is their movie episode. I feel like we got that one of the last, maybe it was 2 seasons ago. The finale. It felt like a movie between. It was like Rick versus the president kind of thing. And it was like that was the episode. It was just this battle of wits, the unstoppable force meets the immovable object episode, and they're going at it. And then this felt like their version of National Treasure with that kind of same thing going in mind, where it's like now we've moved on from their rivalry, but they have to work together in the scope of this bizarre sci-fi origin story of Thanksgiving and stuff. So to me, I can kind of excuse maybe how it wasn't as focused or whatever, even though it should be because it's like it seems like more cinematic and narrative than the others. But yeah, it felt like they were kind of doing more of a parody-esque episode of a thing we know, these Nicolas Cage National Treasure movies, and then adding their own spin and anchoring it in the turkey fucking pardoning tradition that we all know and love.
Well, but I do think that's like one of the cool things about the episode as well, is watching Rick kind of work with someone. In the back half of the episode when it's him and the president working together, that's great because we don't often see Rick voluntarily work alongside anyone that's not from his family. So I think that makes the episode special in that way. And it was, something we talked about, really early on in the season, I think in our preview episode, is maybe wanting to see some of the non-Sanchez family characters like flex a little bit more and get some more screen time. So it was cool to see the president as one of the main characters having some autonomy, playing a role in the narrative, getting to have some of the the big action moments and some of the really funny moments as well throughout the episode. So really did enjoy that.
And again, this is from a total novice. In past seasons, Ryan, you were talking about how like this was like kind of maybe one of the few episodes that just felt like a total like kaleidoscope of like fun moments. Are these kinds of episodes common, or like is it more narrative based, or like how often do they kind of throw in an episode like this?
pretty rare, I would say. This is probably a once every season, maybe. I'd say once or twice a season. I think like the Vindicators kind of felt like that, maybe a little bit. Maybe not as much, but yeah. It's usually, and we've kind of talked about this in the last couple episodes of this podcast, where it's just kind of like what are they doing now, kind of comparing each season to the next. And it's very interesting that you've only seen this season and that this is like all you're kind of going on, because there is a lot built into those first several seasons that kind of still kind of play a part into this, or at least you getting to know the characters and stuff. And I would love to know your thoughts on like the first 2 seasons, right? There's like there's magical episodes in there where I feel like they transcend just what you've seen in this season so far, where it's more than just like a joke every 10-second cartoon that's really deep and stuff. It's like actually like you get into the characters and you get the feels. We talk about this too. This show gives you the feels sometimes when you don't expect it. And so yeah, I'd like to know what you think whenever you discover that kind of stuff.
What I will say, only having seen, the past 6 episodes of this season, not having seen anything before, I feel like, I think it's such a testament to the show and the writing and the character building that's been done, because I'm sure that it's, there's so much of that I'm very excited to experience, but it's like, I didn't feel like I was coming in being like, oh, fuck, I've missed like everything. Yeah. Like I can't possibly start. Like, the dynamics are the dynamics, especially between the family, are so clear, and I think that's just such good writing and character building and world building that like I was happy to just kind of be like dropped in and go along for the ride, and that felt which I feel like is not super common in a way that feels as satisfying as this did.
That's good.
And like, even, not knowing that freaking the president have had like a rivalry for seasons before, like that history, like they did a good job at like dropping that in. Like what, moments that made me laugh in this was like Summer and I forget who it was, maybe a congressperson or the VP or something, like both saying like, why don't you two just fucking get it over with already? Like those the little bits like that not only added to just this episode, but I can imagine like having seen everything for like that just, makes it even deeper and more expansive. But those moments were really, I loved that.
Yeah, and just a quick shout out to Prairie Fire in the chat that said they killed FDR. Neoliberalism has won.
Shit.
Big interpretation there, but that's fun. Yeah. We did have one of our colleagues on the Wisecrack team this morning made the point that, well, actually, Michael Luxembourg, who was on the podcast last week, said he wishes they would have used Henry Kissinger instead of FDR to be the evil spider in the dungeon, which is also a fun call. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan. You looked like you were about to say something.
No, not really. But now that you brought that up, like it's funny that like Morty had some like FDR hate that I didn't see coming in this. It seemed like they were conflicted about FDR in this episode. It was funny. He gets too much credit.
In my head, I was like, wait, I forget. Is he one of the ones we hate real bad, or a little? But then
the most elected president.
Yeah, he's the reason that you can only be president twice now.
Yeah, I know. Thanks a lot.
Was he president 4 times?
Elected 4 times. The last time he couldn't walk, and no one knew. Anyway.
Also, Rick had a line in this that then tied back to the mythology. Like I think like Morty says, like Rick was like, "You killed FDR," and Morty's like, "He was a monster," and he was like, "Don't mythologize him, Morty."
Yeah, that was the greatest. That was such a funny line.
Which I love. That was great. I'm also still not over the polio joke. Which animal is the most like?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The vaccine.
Yeah, that might be my favorite one of the episode. Okay, so before we move on to our next segment, anything else? Just talking about the episode. Have we hit everything? Is there any meat left on the bone that one of you wants to nibble on before we keep going? Want to give everyone a chance.
I thought it was funny that the Statue of Liberty is a Trojan horse by the French.
Yeah.
Robot,
that was
French
great.
woman soldier. That was pretty cool and news to me. Yeah. Anything with you, Reilly?
No, I think that was just more praise for the turkey song that really made me laugh. And then, oh my God, the post credit scene was devastating.
Yeah, that was like a
so
pretty
fucking
brutal.
dark.
I don't want to pay for that guy's health care.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, what a fun episode. And then and I was just sitting there like, oh God, like that was.
Yeah. So in case anyone listening, you just got out of the episode and didn't watch the after credits, we return to our main Marine that we see. He's in the grocery store with his wife, and when someone knocks over a bunch of blueberries, he has like turkey PTSD and can't help but get on all fours, right, and like eat the blueberries like a turkey. And then Ryan points out, someone says, "I don't want to pay for that guy's health care."
And it was after the Marine and his wife or girlfriend were like talking about like the pay cuts. And that, oh my God, that was tough. Tough.
And so of course, yeah, and we see that it's like the other side of the arbitrary big spending activities of the government is the singular Southern soldier who, risked his life to become a turkey and is now getting pay cuts while people don't want to pay his health insurance with a PTSD related to blueberries that he's probably never going to get over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that was Rick and Morty I was going to say, I feel like every good Rick and Morty episode either has like a real like, oh shit, kind of intense dark moment or like a really like in your feels moment. And for me, this was like the oh shit dark moment that bookended the whole thing. Go ahead, Ryan.
I love when they end on like a really tragic, sad, like just kind of trolling the audience, fuck you ending. It's fun. Something the
and
show
they like
does well.
held on the woman's face, just tears brimming, like holding their newborn son, like listening to everyone talk about like this fucking guy, like, oh my God,
this is my life now, my turkey husband.
Devastating.
Yeah, I guess I just want to reiterate I feel like the robot turkey plot line was kind of a weird cop out, kind of how we were complaining in the whole beginning of the episode. Like, there's really like, what are they saying with the episode? I feel like that, while funny, having robot turkeys, whatever, and then and having the Pilgrims and Indians fight the robot turkeys and unite in their hatred of turkeys, I guess. Like, I feel like that kind of made it to where, all right, this episode truly is just a joke. And really, do you guys, is it saying it? What is it saying? What is the 1-to-1 on the robot turkey? What are they, how are they, with them trying to rewrite the Thanksgiving narrative? What do you think the author of this episode wants us to come away with?
Yeah. I mean, if I were to paraphrase author Howard Zinn, I would, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. And I think that's what was stressing me out a little bit in thinking about it. It was like the meaning of that, the idea that there was some foundational unitary force between two alien races that explains everything. I mean, I think one thing it gets at is that, like, to tie into that last line, when Morty says all that technology, they just like gave it to us. So this idea that rather than all of these things that make America being self-created and produced, many of these things come from someplace else. We're gifted from some other place, and then we kind of take credit for those or enjoy the spoils of those technologies, even though they are not our own. Maybe.
Right? Yeah, because the turkeys gave us slavery too, right? Isn't that what the president tells us?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that. I think the main takeaway is just myths and narratives being wrong in general. Like, oh, I grew up thinking one thing, it was really this whole other thing. I think that's and how does that change my outlook on today? Like that's the main thing I take away.
And then almost like, a tongue in cheek, like, trolling, like rewriting that mythology for the viewer of this is the real history, and then having like the robot pilgrims and native people like, oh, they love each other, and like they kept hugging, and then it's like, no, see, they were always on the same side the whole time, they worked together. Like, it's not about us at all. It was the hatred about this other thing, like this continual, well, there's always an other that we're taking from, but this time, no, it wasn't us. So it was like in kind of like clarifying that they presented an alternate history in itself.
Yeah, like that version of the first Thanksgiving you get in elementary school when you're just like, oh, these are just like friends that were hanging out. They were good buds.
They're just
and
a
then,
potluck.
Yeah, right. That's what it looks like. Really fun in in my old coloring books.
My God.
Then by like your freshman year history class, it's like, no, this can't be true. These kids, no, they liked each other. They were friends.
Yeah.
This is what you're talking about.
We
Trail
were
of
all
Tears.
buds. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I think we found some sort of slightly unifying thematics. Like I said, consummate professionals here. Now, more so than even hearing our own voices, something we like to do on the show is hear y'all's voices. We want to hear what you think about the show, whether it's this episode or anything from this season. Comments, questions, theories, we love them. So you can hit us up. There's two ways you can do that. One is email us at squanch@wisecrack.co. No M there, okay? Squanch@wisecrack.co. Or you can give us a call at 213-534-8807. That is 213-534-8807. And if you call us, there's a good chance we play the voicemail on the show unless it's too mean. But even then we might, because once again, we're professionals and we can take it. So I wanted to read some emails we got in the past week. Curious what y'all think about these. And now, Reilly, we know you're up to speed on the whole season, so feel free to jump in on these.
I mean, now I know. I mean, it's like I know everything there is about this show.
Exactly.
So any question or any comment they have, just field that my way, and like
I'll
I'll
you.
Sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So this is an email from Justin. Justin said, I noticed in the last episode you talked about how it seems like there are no consequences for the actions this season, and continuity seems to have been thrown out the window. But also not entirely. I've been keeping my eyes peeled for any reoccurrence of Jessica just in case. I have a theory that this season they are showing us different Smith family adventures from different realities with every episode. I mean, think about it. The decoy episode happened on one dimension's Earth. Those weren't alternate dimension Smith families. They were all decoys in a similar house on the same planet in the same reality. It does feel more sitcom-like this season, where every episode is a standalone adventure following the Dan Harmon story circle, but they hit the magic reset button with every new episode. Justin ends by saying, I think there's going to be a big rug pull in the season finale, similar to how season 18 of South Park did that. So thoughts on that? Both Justin's point that like it seems like it might be different families in every episode, and that there might be some big rug pull. Does anyone see any of this coming?
That'd be fucking awesome if they actually planned that and we're like, all right, we're gonna seed at the beginning all these different Smith families, you know, with the decoys, and then at the end we're gonna reveal that every single episode was just us watching another decoy family. That's good on them, I would say, if they did that.
That would be awesome. I really hope, and I based on kind of like what I'm hearing, and by that I mean based on me being a professor of Rick and Morty, I will be surprised if they don't bring Jessica back. Like, it's like she left being like, I am like endowed with time or whatever. I'm a time god. Like that was fucking rad. And like, I really hope that and alternate dimensions tie in somehow together, or like all of this has been happening like in a second, or like happen, or whatever, like something that just totally bends every perception would be awesome.
Oh, would love that. Something else we talked about, in our season preview was wanting more Jessica, and some Jessica as detached from Morty's desire, just Jessica on her own with the powers of the time god. So
I loved Jessica.
Very, very much hope that she comes back. And I definitely do think there's going to be some type of rug pull. I don't know what it is, but there's been a thing in recent seasons where they'll go real serialized, but then something will happen towards the end of the season that's some sort of big risk or big way to pull a few storylines together. And I just think they're going to do something like that. They
double.
Yeah, something's going to happen. So here's the next email. This is from, I assume this can only be a government name, Ava Boo. Ava Boo says, and this is about the last episode, says, the Cenobite's proclivity to like what is bad just because it is bad, paired with the high IQ graffiti that is seen twice in the bar, seems like a dig at the pretentious fans who claim you need a high Q to watch Rick and Morty. But in reality, those people don't even fully understand the show. They just like to say they do because it is controversial. Basically, just a dig at the fans who are only in the counterculture and don't actually form their own opinions, but just like to disagree with the majority. And then Ava says in parentheses, also, this has been bothering me. How do the horses conceive to bury White and give birth in the same day? Makes no sense unless they're chuds, but maybe I have no clue. Breaking parentheses, another thing I found hilarious is that Shutback is called out for wearing the same pants twice, yet literally every character wears the same outfit basically every episode. Back to parentheses, also my karaoke go-to is Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood. Thanks, Ava. Starting with that, do either of you have a karaoke go-to?
Reilly.
Man, I haven't done it in so long. But probably it's gonna be Elton John, and it's gonna be either Goodbye Yellow Brick Road or Rocket Man.
Okay, good. Nice one.
Good. Ryan, you got any? Oh,
last week we said, I think we said some. I said Downtown by Petula Clark.
Oh, very good.
I liked the Banana Boat song. That one's always fun. And That Don't Impress Me Much by Shania Twain.
Oh, that's great.
Excellent choices.
So, thank you. I appreciate it.
Once again, I haven't done it in a while. A favorite has always been Thin Lizzy's Boys Are Back in Town.
Excellent.
Nice. Thin Lizzy rocks.
And then I never disliked doing a Disney classic as well, especially a problematic one. I used to love,
where was this going?
Tread lightly.
I used to like doing in college, Be a Man from the Mulan soundtrack, which gives a really healthy and fully fledged
and I just full body exhale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I guess more importantly, what do we think? Anything else? What do we think about Ava's thought here that the Cenobites in the last episode are just a kind of parody of the tendency some people have in both Rick and Morty and just I think like internet culture in general to only hate things and to only have reactionary opinions?
I think that I can see some of that. I mean, I definitely think it was just pretentiousness writ large, but yeah, they always do a good job of taking it to their more pretentious fans, and like even Reilly, the first thing she said was like I just the few fans I knew of Rick and Morty, I'm just like, oh shit, do I really want to be a part of that? I mean, that sucks. I always hate when I hear that because it's just kind of like the few people fuck it up for everybody,
Yeah, and it's such a bummer, and that's so funny that was brought up in that email of like the high Q thing, because I feel like I've heard that thrown around a lot, and that's such a bummer when it's like, just the few people who ruin it for other people. Like that sucks, especially when it's like, this is such a, I don't know. I'm always mystified by people who gatekeep in that way, especially when it's like just for like a fun show that's meant to be enjoyed by everyone. It's like, suck. Why? Like, that's so lame. Like, that's so lame to do that. It's mean. I don't like it. But I'm glad I'm here. And so now that I am here, I haven't learned my lesson, and now I'm going to be that asshole who goes shaming everyone.
Yeah. Well, we
so
all are. It's all right.
Super fun for me. So next time you see me, I'll be changed. I will be changed.
Ruined by Rick and Morty. We never should have invited you on. It's going to ruin your life. Everyone.
Your IQ goes up exponentially when you get into the show. I don't know if you know that, but
my social capital plummets.
Yeah.
Through the basement right there. We got one last email. It's from Greg, and it's about the last episode as well. Greg says, first, I was frankly disappointed that when faced with the police, Summer and Morty didn't roll on the chut and then learn something important to apply to their greater lives. It is very atypical for Rick and Morty. I was hoping for a deeper subversion of it, and blowing up the police station just seemed lazy and was unsatisfying to me. Also, the Cenobite joke definitely overstayed its welcome, but I felt like it was a meta joke at the audience's expense. It became painful, which made it bad, which made Dan Harmon feel good. Yeah. I didn't really think about the police station blowing up thing. Is that the one that happened to Summer and Morty?
Yeah.
When they were on like the okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't get any deep thing going on there. I wasn't offended by them blowing it up though.
Yeah, I barely remember the episode, this scene, honestly. I can't comment.
Yeah.
On it. Reilly, did you just watch it? What did you think?
That is also not something that stuck out, but I'm curious. And I mean, it's like, again, with all my experience with the show, I already know the correct answer, and there is a correct answer. But for you guys, like, if there was going to be in that moment something more subversive to have happened, what is something that you guys typically would have expected from that moment if it wasn't that?
I have no clue. Yeah, just I mean, I don't know. So, Rick coming out of nowhere with some bizarre Deus Ex Machina and fucking
Right.
the whole train up. I don't know.
Yeah,
Mike?
I would say something like that, or maybe a moment where Morty and Summer work together to solve a problem. Which will occasionally happen when they have Rickless adventures, and can kind of be nice moments when we see a brother and sister get together to solve a problem.
I did love in the last episode when Summer's like, we're gonna need to work as a team, and Morty's just like, you mean family? He's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that was a nice moment.
Yeah. Any moment where you see like Morty's just like genuine desire to, like, I don't know, be in a real family and get along with everyone. It's very sweet. And then at other times fucking devastating. Awesome. Well, those are all emails. Once again, if you do want to get in touch with us, we'd love to hear from you. So hit us up at squanch@wisecrack.co or call us at 213-534-8807. Ryan, back to you.
I was going to say that there was some people in the chat dovetailing off what we were talking about earlier about, what could possibly the end of this episode we're talking about mean, and stuff. And a lot of people are bringing up Ancient Aliens. I kind of totally forgot about that reference. And they were probably making fun of that about just, if you haven't seen the show, it's like, a million years ago, aliens were here and there was actually this whole other civilization and now they're gone. But it's like told in these really shitty CGI animations, and you should definitely need to check that show out if you haven't watched it. This guy with the crazy hair. Anyway,
I was about to say that's where that meme come from, right? The crazy hair scientist. Yeah,
crazy hair dude. Right. So I completely didn't even pick up on that. You guys are 100% right.
Thanks for pointing that in the chat. We really appreciate it. So before I wrap up, just a reminder that we've been doing some weekly quick take videos over on the YouTube channel, and I know we're doing one this week of this episode, so that'll be out Friday or Saturday. You can see a take on the video. It's a little more on this episode, a little more fully formed. Before we fully sign off, let's talk about where you can find us. So Reilly, we'll start with you. Where can people find you on the internet, or listen to things, or watch things you make? We talked about review before, but we can get into that again. But where should people find you?
You can find me at my home address at you can find me on Instagram at Reilly Anspauch, just first and last name, ReillyAnspauch, and on Twitter, my Twitter handle is right there, Reilly Coyote. And that's really it. That and review on the HeadGum Network. And I post a lot of very, very silly things. I post a lot of my mom's dog. So if you want any of that, then come on over to my Instagram. We'll have a good time.
Hell yeah. And once again, everyone, definitely go, if you're listening to this on a podcast app already, as soon as it's done, just go look up review. Spell it differently the second time, and then you'll find it. You can subscribe and stuff. Ryan, where can people find you?
Releasing Ryan Shorts. You can find me on YouTube, and I'm releasing comedy shorts there right now. It's supposed to be every week, but right now it's like every 3 weeks. Just don't pay attention to the schedule.
Every week's a lot.
I did it for the whole pandemic, and then I finally am like, oh my god, I don't know if I can keep up with that schedule, dude. So just whenever they come out, they come out. So check it out on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I hope you like it.
Awesome. And you can just find me on social media at Michael O. Burns on the word social media and the picture-based social media. Obviously, I'm on Wisecrack, so if you don't already follow Wisecrack on YouTube, go do that. And if you don't already, subscribe to the podcast, review it, all that sort of stuff. Give it stars. Leave us a fun review. It means a lot to us, and we appreciate it. But before we go, a final thank you to Reilly Anspauch. Thank you so much for joining us and watching all this Rick and Morty so you could be here to talk with us. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you guys. This was a ball. This was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
And for the final last word, I give it to Ryan Haley. Take it away.
From the most 3 biggest biggest Rick and Morty experts on the internet. Goodbye from Hollywood, California. There you go.
And scene.